June 6, 2013. The Kremlin Palace. After watching a ballet performance, the most powerful man in Russia stepped in front of cameras with his wife of nearly 30 years. What he said next would shock the world. For the first time in modern Russian history, a sitting president publicly announced his divorce on live television. But here's what makes this story even stranger. Over a decade later, Vladimir Putin remains officially single. No new marriage, no public relationships, nothing. This is the untold story of Putin's divorce, and why Russia still has no first lady. Real quick before we continue, if you love discovering hidden truths that challenge the official narrative, subscribe to Truth in the Soil. That's what we do here. Now let's dig in. To understand Putin's divorce, you first need to understand something most people don't know. Russia has never really had a first lady the way America does. Vladimir Putin married Lyudmila Putina on July 28, 1983. She was a flight attendant for Aeroflot. He was a KGB officer. They met at a concert in Leningrad through a mutual friend. Together, they had two daughters, Maria, born in 1985, and Yekaterina, born in 1986. But unlike American first ladies who champion causes, give speeches, and appear constantly in the media, Lyudmila Putin was almost invisible. This wasn't unusual for Russia. Soviet leaders historically kept their wives completely out of the spotlight. It was a tradition of secrecy that dated back decades. The only exception was Raisa Gorbachev in the 1980s, who accompanied her husband Mikhail on international trips and spoke publicly. The Soviet public actually resented her for it, viewing her fashionable clothes as tone-deaf during a time of economic hardship. So when Putin rose to power, Lyudmila followed the old Soviet playbook. Stay silent, stay hidden. She rarely appeared in public. She avoided traveling with Putin. She gave almost no interviews. Even when she did appear at official ceremonies, she stood quietly beside him, rarely speaking. In fact, most Russians couldn't tell you what the First Lady even looked like. By 2013, rumors had been swirling for years that Putin and Lyudmila were living separate lives. She hadn't been seen in public for months. People whispered that the marriage was essentially over. Then came June 6, 2013. Putin and Lyudmila attended a performance of the ballet Esmeralda at the state Kremlin Palace. After the show, they were stopped by a reporter from the state television network, Rossiya 24. The reporter asked a simple question. "There are rumors you no longer live together. Is this true?" And right there, standing in front of cameras, Putin confirmed it. "That is true," he said calmly. "We practically never saw each other." To each his own life. Lyudmila added, "Our marriage is over due to the fact that we barely see each other." When asked directly if they were divorced, Lyudmila called it a civilized divorce. The whole exchange was shockingly casual. No press conference, no official statement, just a brief conversation after a ballet, broadcast to the entire nation. They had been married for nearly 30 years. And they announced their split the way most people might mention their changing phone plans. After that night, Lyudmila essentially disappeared from public life. The divorce was officially finalized in April 2014, nearly a year after the announcement. The Kremlin confirmed it by quietly removing all references to Lyudmila from Putin's official biography on the Kremlin website. No details about the settlement were ever released. No interviews, no tell-all books, nothing. She simply vanished. But here's where the story gets interesting. In January 2016, Russian media outlets reported that Lyudmila had quietly remarried in 2015. Her new husband was a man named Artur Ocheretny, who was 21 years younger than her. Ocheretny ran a non-profit foundation that Lyudmila had supported for years. At a 2014 press conference, when asked if he would remarry, Putin said he would first want to see his ex-wife married, and only then think about myself. His wish came true. Lyudmila got her new life, she got her privacy, she got her wealth, and she never had to stand in front of cameras again. So what about Putin? More than 11 years after the divorce, Vladimir Putin has never publicly remarried or acknowledged any romantic relationship. Officially, he's single. Now, are there rumors? Absolutely. The Russian president has been linked to several women over the years, most notably former Olympic gymnast Alina Kabaeva, who's 30 years younger than him. They've allegedly been connected since 2008. But here's what's important. Putin has never confirmed any of it. In 2008, when a reporter asked him about Kabaeva at a press conference in Italy, Putin became visibly angry. "I am aware that politicians live in glass houses," he said, "but even in these cases there must be some limits. I always disliked people who go around with their erotic fantasies, sticking their snot-ridden noses into another person's life." The newspaper that published the story was shut down within days. The Kremlin's message was clear: Putin's personal life is off-limits. So why does Putin keep his personal life so intensely private? There are several reasons. First, it's about political image. Putin's brand is strength, control, and dedication to Russia. A romantic relationship might be seen as a distraction or weakness. Second, it's about security. Anyone close to Putin becomes a target. Keeping relationships secret protects both him and anyone he cares about. Third, it's cultural tradition. Soviet and Russian leaders have historically separated their personal lives from their public roles. It's simply what powerful Russians do. And fourth, it gives Putin control over the narrative. Mystery creates power. The less people know, the less they can criticize or exploit. Here's the remarkable reality. Russia has not had a first lady since 2014. For over a decade, one of the world's most powerful nations has had no official presidential spouse in the public eye. Compare that to the United States, where the First Lady has an office, a staff, public initiatives, and constant media presence. American First Ladies campaign for causes. They give speeches. They're interviewed constantly. They're political figures in their own right. Russia? Nothing. The position exists in name only. There is technically an unofficial title called First Lady of the Russian Federation, but it's been vacant for more than 10 years, and Putin shows no signs of changing that. His daughters, Maria and Yekaterina, are also kept completely out of the spotlight. Most Russians have never seen verified adult photos of them. They live under assumed names. Putin has constructed an almost impenetrable wall around his personal life, and that wall started with a divorce announcement after a ballet in 2013. More than a decade has passed since that strange night at the Kremlin palace. Lyudmila got what she wanted: a quiet life away from politics, remarriage, and financial security. Putin got what he wanted: complete control over his image and absolute privacy. And Russia? Russia has become a country where the leader's personal life is treated as a state secret, where the First Lady position sits empty, where mystery is more powerful than transparency. Lyudmila Putin once said she didn't like publicity, and that flying with her husband was difficult for her. She finally got her escape. And Putin? He's still standing alone in front of those cameras, just the way he wants it. So there you have it. The truth behind Putin's divorce that most people never knew. If stories like this are why you come to YouTube, then Truth in the Soil is your channel. We unearth the facts that don't make headlines. Subscribe so you never miss our next investigation. And tell me in the comments, do you think Putin will ever remarry publicly? Or will he keep this wall of secrecy forever? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one where we dig even deeper.